Yep, that one Hydralisk was lucky his friends showed up because it would have easily gone down to those three Banshees, and those Banshees doing the right thing, running away, preserving their worth, and now they're going to be repaired. You know, it's much more cost effective to repair a Banshee than to lose one and build another.
Yeah, a lot of gas, a lot of minerals invested, of course, in Banshees, and keeping them viable, keeping them alive into the mid-game, into the late game is definitely a good investment for the Terran. Of course, Boxer losing that early Banshee to those two Queens at the beginning of the game probably has him a little road weary and doesn't want to spread his Banshees too far out there. Knows that that the creep is, of course, right on his doorstep here, so he's got to keep as many units as he possibly can devoted to base defense. Right now, Fruitdealer with 4 hatcheries up and running. Of course, this gold mineral expansion getting mined quite nicely. Economic advantage in Fruitdealer's corner right now, as well as map control, and Boxer is going to invest in base defense.
Yeah, but absolutely. If you look at Boxer's army tab, you'll see that Boxer's actually way ahead in unit count and very far ahead in army composition. You know that Fruitdealer has a lot of production units, a lot of workers out on the field, but right now it looks like Boxer has a bigger army. I'm not sure what that says in the grand scheme of the game, but it's kind of interesting to me right now.
I think that Fruitdealer is getting. It shows that Fruitdealer is getting quite comfortable in this game. That he can kind of just commit himself to economy and not fear any major reprisal from Boxer. Of course, we've seen the early bunker harassment and then 1 or 2 Banshees kind of coming in and out of the base, but no major aggression from Boxer. And as I say this, maybe Boxer kind of spreading out and hoping that he can move out and have that major aggression, but he still seems a little wary, which is of course a problem for Terrans when the urge to turtle is always there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's moving slowly, keeping his siege tanks up and running, and now he's going to push forward with a few cloaked Banshees. But these Banshees are going to be spotted soon. I believe an observer is on the way. Here it comes, an overseer rather, and these Hydras are ready to attack when this overseer spots them.
Yeah,
and one Banshee quickly taken down with 3 volleys from 8 Hydralisks. Just very powerful units, able to quickly do damage.
1-1 are the upgrades on those Hydralisks, and of course that is plenty to take down Banshees. Banshees very, very vulnerable to AA, and looks like maybe all 4 of these Banshees are going to go down very quickly. That's exactly what happens, and Boxer's got to be very disappointed to have lost those Banshees without even taking down this hatchery. I think the only thing in their kill column on that one was another Queen, so that's a trade-off of a Queen for 4 Banshees, and maybe those 2 Queens previous to that, but still, that's not a trade anybody wants to make. And
yeah, I think those Banshees were a little bit over-eager. They should have stayed back. They should have stayed with the rest of their army so they could have been adequately protected by those ground units, by those Marines, by those siege tanks, but now they're all dead.
Fruitdealer coming out here with the second 2-pronged attack to try to stem this tide of siege tanks, trying to occupy the siege's attention over here with these speedlings. And look at these Banelings being dropped out of Overlords here. This is just fantastic play from Fruitdealer. Never seen that before. And of course, he's been innovating as he's come up on the scene, and looks like there's some more innovation on his behalf. Boxer feeling like he's got enough units to push out here. I think this is going to be a big mistake.
Yeah, Fruitdealer producing a lot of units right now. 8 roaches on the way, and they're all going to pop out at once. A bunch of Zerglings on the way as well, and also some Banelings. And if these Banelings load up in the Overseers again, they can be so dangerous if they just get dropped out at the back of your line.
Yeah, I just love this roach line with like 1 or 2 Banelings coming in and out, popping in and out, blowing up at strategic positions instead of just the large clump of Banelings. Not investing much in Banelings, but using them to great effect, great economy benefits to that. And
yeah. Boxer doing a great job picking up that Thor in that last battle. It was being focused down by all those roaches, and then all of a sudden it just got picked up about 2 feet off the ground, and those roaches could no longer attack it.
This Baneling drop strategy by Fruitdealer here absolutely having devastating effects against Boxer. I don't think that he was prepared to deal with something like this. Of course, no Vikings out in the field, not enough Marines to handle the AA. The Overlords more or less kind of just hanging around all over the map, kind of exerting their authority, and Fruitdealer feeling extremely confident, like I'm sure he has all game with this map control.
Yeah, absolutely. a command center floating overhead for Boxer. The command center is going to keep moving because he knows if he lands, he will be immediately destroyed.
Command center now being pressured by that spore crawler. Looks like he's going to move on and look for greener pastures. Meanwhile, this fourth expansion here for Fruitdealer has a second hatchery. Looks like this is going to be a main unit producing building. Of course, stream of Zerglings coming out there. 2 Hellions here to meet them. Probably going to have some pretty good effect. Those Hellions, if you can line up their flamethrower, pretty good against almost any number of Zerglings. Right now, the contamination going down from the Overlords onto the factory, that's going to stall the building of mech units for the time being for Boxer, and it looks like 2 Overlords here loaded to bear with Banelings on the way to Boxer's base, and it looks like this might be the deciding battle here. Can Boxer hold this off? Probably not. Overlord's doing a great job of bringing those Banelings back to the small biological units in the back line, and just great stuff from Fruitdealer. Really inventive stuff.
Banelings being dropped in the back, quickly and easily finishing off the final units at the back of Boxer's ramp. The base block stood no chance against those Banelings being dropped right in that choke point, and those units went down really fast.
Yeah, Boxer absolutely needed some Vikings or some sort of support once he saw that the Baneling strategy was being implemented with such great effect, and it looks like Boxer can do nothing but watch his buildings get absolutely terrorized right now. It looks like Fruitdealer is going to take this game and do so.
What I love about the Overlord Baneling drop strategy is that, you know, attacking an Overlord during a battle seems like a ridiculous idea, and if you do that, then you're not attacking perhaps other units that will be doing a lot of damage. So it's really a trade-off, and you force your opponent to make a very difficult decision when you load up those Overlords with Banelings. I think Overlord's transport is really tailor-made for just bringing in Banelings and dropping them to the back of the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, had he had Vikings in this particular situation, having, you know, that Fruitdealer had no other air units, they would have, you know, default attacked the Overlords. But you're right. If you're playing a game where there are other air units, where there are Mutalisks, and they occupy the Vikings' attention, they occupy the Marines' attention, and you do this Baneling drop, then you're absolutely right. It is a trade-off for the player. Has to make a split-second decision to go after these Overlords, and if you do it, you know, not so often, then, you know, the player will never really fully be ready to make that decision. So a great bit of innovation here from Fruitdealer, probably something we're going to see in games for a long time to come. And you know, some pretty inventive play from Boxer too. I'm super excited for him to be kind of back on the scene, and you know, excited to see what kind of trickery he can come up with for Terran. But
that's right, and you have to remember, when you are facing a bunch of Overlords that are moving towards your army, you cannot see whether they're loaded up or not. If you're looking at your enemy's units, you can't tell if those units are loaded up with other units. So if you have a couple of redundant Overlords that perhaps aren't loaded up, it just really makes your opponent have to consider many other things, and you know, attacking the wrong Overlord could be completely useless, and you could lose your army because you're attacking the wrong unit, or, you know, it really makes it difficult for somebody to deal with that, having those Overlords possibly loaded up with Banelings, possibly not.
I know it's going to be another thing for people to worry about, you know, as if we need more things to worry about like that. But, I mean, Fruitdealer, like I said, just the confidence brimming from him, obviously, from this game, and near the end of it, just Overlords kind of just spread all over the map, just knowing that Boxer had no means of kind of taking out these large, you know, air cows, you know, that are normally just so vulnerable to basically anything that can hit the air, and just Fruitdealer just kind of daring Boxer and saying, like, you know, I'm going to spread these all over your base, and you're never going to know which one has Banelings in them. And in the end, it was just too much mind games, too much, too much, you know, good execution here from Fruitdealer for Boxer to handle. So, on behalf of myself, Jadius, Baeus, and the Wood League, we thank you so much for tuning into this game. We thank you so much for bearing with us during our hiatus, and hopefully we'll bring you know, tons of good games for you guys in the next few days. And we hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you folks next time.